Good morning. Call the meeting to order. Before we get into any of the agenda items, Larry has a couple of comments about our packets. Larry?
The packet that was sent out through the website and through your email had some errors in it. The packet that is on your table is the correct one. Those are the minutes that we'll be approving. And the attachments are also a little bit different than what was sent out in the electronic packet. So if you'll, through the course of the meeting, use the one that was at your table.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, each and every one of you. Let's start out with introductions. I'm Byron Chapman, Mayor of the City of Middletown, acting chair today.
Tom Hall, KYTC District 5 Planning.
Matt Moore, CDE District 5.
Thomas Whittick, KYTC Planning.
Tanya Higdon, KYTC Planning.
Murray Bowling, City of St. Matthews.
Ida Colby, Doc.
Jeff O'Brien, Louisville Metro.
John Black, Oldham County.
Andy Crouch, City of Jeffersonville.
Justin Tackett, Floyd County.
Ryan Dixon, Clark County.
Jim Moody, NDOT.
Kevin Beatty, Town of Clarksville.
Matt Meunier, City of Jeffersontown.
Bill Derrick, Mayor of the City of Jeffersontown. We went across the bridge and sat on the other
You
side this
did.
time. So we just want to let you know the bridge is working. But don't tell them we didn't pay the toll when we came over here though.
Larry Cheney, Kipta.
Ashley Davidson, Kipta.
I'm Mary Lou Palmer with Kipta.
David Burton with Kipton. Nick Bale with Kipton.
Sarah Bear, Kipta.
Larry Summers, City of New Albany.
John Rosenberger, City of New Albany.
Scott Fleming, City of Shepherdsville. Tom LaFollette, City of Shepherdsville.
Bobby Campbell, Jacoby Jones, Glass Engineering. Steve Miller, Congressman Greg Guthers' office.
Rachel Henry, HMD Professional Engineer.
Tim Robinson, Jared Engineers.
Paula Long, Neil Schaefer, engineers.
Bob Stein, United Consulting Engineers.
Diana Radcliffe, BFW Engineering.
Travis Thompson, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, District 5.
Welcome, everyone. Let's move on. Second item on the agenda is an over 22nd minutes. Name motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion, second. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none. Item number 3. This is our public comment period. This will be the only time that you'll be able to address this board. Please be conscious of our time, but anyone want to address the board? Seeing no one, moving to number 4. Public meeting report. Ashley Davidson. Ashley?
We do not have anything for December. I will update on January and February.
Okay. Item number 5, Kentucky dedicated to STP, SLO funding priorities. Mary Lou.
All right, thank you. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you today about proposed changes to the Kentucky SLO STP Urban Funding Program. We receive approximately $17.7 million of federal STP Urban, or often referred to as the SLO funds. And these are suballocated to the Kipta region by KYTC. We have an ongoing program of projects slated to use these funds, and the projects are programmed in the TIP through 2018 right now. So we're working on a new TIP that's going to include 2019, 2020, and 2021, and so therefore we have additional funding that's available. And because of that, then we issued a notice of funding availability for new projects. So our new project management process gives priority to existing projects over new projects. So all the requests for additional funding for those phases, or for phases moving in to the TIP from the future column, those were accommodated. There was, and is, in the revised packet there, and I think it was actually in the one that was mailed to you too, but there is a table that looks like this, and at the top, well, this, mine's highlighted in yellow. I think yours would be highlighted in gray if it's printed in black and white. And at the top, it says fiscal year 2018 to 2020 Transportation Improvement Program, SCP Urban Boundaries, Kentucky projects, existing projects with proposed cost increases. And what this is a spreadsheet that shows all of the existing projects that are in there and any of the proposed cost increases that can be accommodated. They are increases to projects that are already there, as well as future phases that were being moved in for existing projects. So with those changes added, there were still funds that were available for new projects, but we did receive more requests than we had funds available for. Therefore, the project working group met on January 4th to look at the request, and they recommended some funding priorities. Now, their recommendation is shown on a table that I think failed to make it into the packet that went out, but it is in the packet that is on the table. It looks probably much smaller than this, but similar. The Kentucky projects are at the top, and the Indiana projects are at the bottom. There are actually 2 pages. The first page is project working group recommendation. The second page, which if you printed it in color, it would be in red. It says TTCC recommendation at the top. Now, for these Kentucky projects that we're talking about at this time, both of those recommendations are the same there. So, let's see. There is a change to the TTCC recommendation for the Indiana projects, but we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. So this program of funds is required to be fiscally balanced, and with the changes that are being proposed here, it is balanced. We can look at what these projects are. Looking at the first project on the list is it's a Louisville Metro Public Works project, Main Street Story Avenue intersection project, and the recommendation is to add design in 2017, utilities in 2018, and construction in 2021. The next project is a Louisville Metro Public Works Dixie Highway. It's a Tiger project, and these are additional design funds for that project. It's a project that's already in the TIP using Tiger funds, and these are additional design funds for 2017. Then we have a Louisville Metro Public Works project, which is the Dixie Highway BRT study, and this is recommending planning in 2018. And there's a TARC project, the Comprehensive Operations Analysis, and they're requesting planning funds in 2017. So these were the projects that were recommended by the project working group when they met, and then the TTCC also voted to recommend their recommendations. So it would be that those are both the same on that. There is also included in the revised packet is a sheet that looks like this, and this is a financial plan, basically, just very simple. But what it shows here is that the first line are the general funds that are available. So these are the funds that are available at the beginning of each one of these fiscal years. The next line are the existing projects and any of the changes that were proposed. Then the third line are the new projects that were proposed here in the gray that we just talked about. And then the fourth line, that's the balance that would be available if all of these were added in. There's a balance at the bottom. Now, that balance carries over each year. So when you look at 2017, where it shows there's $49.8 million available, that $49.8 million carries over to 2008 and is $17.7 million of allocated funds is added to that, and then those funds are programmed. So that balance carries over each year. So the low point in all of it is fiscal year 2020, where there is $220,876,000 available. And then in 2021, at the end of the TIP program, there's $3.2 million available. So this is what's being proposed, and I will answer any questions that you might have.
I'd like to make an amendment to the proposal, if it is possible. The Patty Lane project, which is a J-Town project, which I'm partial to, because we have the new project work group, it's a work in progress of how it does and how it operates and what we submit. Unfortunately, Matt didn't get all the submission in that he thought they didn't need the request when it was done of why it was needed. To give you an idea, Patty Lane, I don't know if any of you are aware of what Patty Lane looks like, but each one of the properties that are commercial properties up to Patty Lane are completely paved. So thereby, when the students are getting off the bus on Tails Road, walking back to one of the 3 schools, they are actually walking either in the drives or in the street trying to get back to that facility. There is drainage issues for the students. They have to go through ponds in that area, and it is very much dated for an area. So the one thing that, Jeff O'Brien, one thing I have to compliment, the guy that happened to be representing Metro today. Jeff has had, not to digress here, has a huge burden on his shoulder right now trying to develop a comprehensive plan for the Metro area. Hats off to you, buddy. But one of the things he presented the other night was one of the biggest problems that people said we have in Jefferson County is the education. And Patty Lane is a tributary to J-Town High School. And if we're going to make it harder and more dangerous for kids to get there and less likely that people want to go to that school, what better way to spend the tax dollars than to improve the education? So when we come out with a comprehensive plan and we go, this is what we're looking for the community to, number one is to make education, number two is safety. What better way to spend the tax dollars on KIPTA, on both safety, the kids are not walking in the middle of the street, and two, getting the kids to school. So I'd like to make an amendment to add the Patty Lane project back into the TIP at this time.
Is it not in the TIP?
It's not in the.
It's one of the new projects that, actually, if you look at the gray sheet on here, it is looking at the Kentucky projects, we have the 4 grayed out projects, and then Patty Lane is the first project that's shown in white there. And what it's showing here is the request is for $906,840, but that is actually broken out into a couple of phases. The original, well, I guess the request is for right-of-way for $88,000 of federal funds, utilities for $88,000 of federal funds, and construction for $730,840.
There's funds left available, so we wouldn't have to take them away from any other project.
Am I looking at this correctly? In 2017, looks like we have a balance of what?
Just looking at the financial sheet here.
Right.
Yes, in 2017, there's a balance that carries over to 18. Then the balance at the bottom of 18 carries
Right.
over to 19, then 19 carries over to 20, and then at the end of 2020, we have $220,000 available.
Okay.
And then at the end of, then that carried over to 2021, and at the end of 2021, we have $3.2 million available.
Well, of course, I served on this committee trying to rework the procedures, and it was my understanding that the main goal was, if we got the funds, let's spend them, because the feds were saying if we don't spend them, eventually may get them taken away. If this project's ready to spend that part of that excess, what's the negative?
There was just some, I guess, some hefty discussion at the TTCC
Right,
meeting
right.
about the project. Don't know, like, I guess one of the main points was that maybe some of the important aspects of the Patty Lane project weren't evident in the application. Am I saying it correctly?
Spending the money is one of the elements of this process, but it's not the only one. The other one is
And
funding the right projects. And I think a lot of the committee members are here, or the working group members are here that made that decision. I think as Patty Lane was represented in the application, it didn't really say all those things. They didn't see them.
And to
As
Byron's
they made their
point,
decision.
Matt wasn't aware to fill out the rest of it. He was, in fact, he was under the assumption not to fill out all of it, and that he would be called later to be asked the questions. That's why we're kind of bringing it up now, to say it is regional in nature. It does satisfy the education part, the safety part, and several of the ideas that they looked for in that group.
Okay.
So,
And that goes back to our goals and objectives that we put together.
right.
And that's the main thing that we're trying to do with the program.
And I can see, if we start just, whatever they say, we override it, you kind of lost it. But then again, if we can spend money and move the project forward,
Well, I can interject a little bit. I was at the TTCC. The application, which is a new application process, it had a section of the application that wasn't required to be completed. And that's the part I think Larry was talking about, that kind of set up the justification for the project.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of maybe where some of the disconnect may have happened. But just to give a little further expansion on the corridor and the significance of it, it is classified as a minor collector, and is connecting up a major arterial with another minor collector. Corridor has no sidewalks, open curb cut across all the properties, frontages. As the mayor said, it serves 3 area schools back in a very high-density neighborhood. And so it seems to meet the goals and objectives of the Connecting Kentuckiana plan in addressing safety issues as far as providing safe pedestrian movement, connectivity issues in order to connect it up high-density neighborhoods, schools, to commerce nodes or commercial corridors. So while it may be a very short corridor, it's a very significant and vital corridor because of how it's being currently used as well as the uses that are on each end of it. The other added benefit is that this allows the neighborhood as well as the schools to access the transit system, which gets them into the
Did the
area.
committee hear what you just said, or no?
No,
No.
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 The committee, your process, Mayor,
Right.
this is a new process, so we're developing it as, I don't want to say we're redeveloping, but we're adding to what needs to be done.
Well, this completion of the application, for lack of a better word, is that something the committee now?
We're in, this is
It's a
the,
work in process.
it's a work in progress, and this is the first time that we've attempted to do it this way. So in the next go-around, a year from now, we're going to have an application. We currently have an application that addresses those things.
Okay.
But we're going to provide resources that feed into that application process.
And you know.
To weigh it against.
The more, obviously, at least I would maybe think, if they had had this information, then it would have been a different, I don't know that. But as long as we can make sure that every application is as complete as we can get it for people. So, you know, this is work in progress. We're learning. I think got to be very restrictive somewhat because this committee, you know, we've got to value their opinion. But I think this is where we need to maybe,
And
as a lesson learned, we need to be more.
it is. And in the long run, we have to look at a project not just because we have money enough to do it, but because it lends value to the process.
To the process, right.
To your
And I agree,
point,
that's
right,
part,
I'm
like you said, that's part of that
We're
process.
not trying to spend the money just because of money. We're trying to, it meets all the criteria to spend the money, if not more.
You know, to the point you made with the new you know, the new plan, you know, this connectivity is one of the main keys that we keep hearing about. And we spend a lot of money to do just what you wanted to do.
And as I said, Jeff will tell you the worst thing we're rated in this county for is education. So, and safety. Yeah.
Sidewalks along major streets is number 2.
It was number 2. Yeah, so I mean, this kind of meets the
So 1 and 2 is.
1 and 2.
What's third?
I thought it was safety was number
Well, safety, connectivity,
Right.
and education, yeah.
Well, I don't think those are the actual goals of the MPO, and I don't want to confuse Louisville's goals with the MPO's goals, because they're 2 very different things. And I was on the work group, and I was also on the TTCC, and neither of which supported the project, and there were 2 other projects we didn't support. And the reason is because we looked at each project as it was presented in the application. We didn't ask for or look for additional information. And we compared the information in those applications as to how they would benefit the goals of the MPO, which are very clear on the Connecting Kentuckiana website. And all of the projects that were selected did clearly meet those goals, with the exception of Patty Lane and 2 others. And we didn't feel like there was enough information. So we're talking about funds that can only be accessed in like 2021. This project won't begin until 2021, which is 4 years from now. And there will be an opportunity next year to apply for the funding again. And the suggestion of the working group was, let's not fund this project because it's not giving us enough information. We don't want to fund a project that isn't or doesn't show that it contributes to the goals of the MPO. What we'd rather do is wait a year, refine the application process so that it's tailored to answering those questions and how you meet the MPO's goals, and then let that project apply for the funds again. And there's nothing that says it won't easily get the money if it's written in the right way. That's a mistake on our part for not having a good application process, but we're not holding back money. We're not holding back a process or delaying your project in any way. We're saying, give us a year to refine the process, reapply. If in fact it is a great project, it'll get funded. And it's not, and I hope that's clear. And like I say, the working group spent an 8-hour session talking about this and working through this and examining the MPO's goals and how each of these projects contributes in as fair a way as possible. And I thought we did a good job, and I'm not the only person that was on the committee. We had representatives from the state of Indiana, the state of Kentucky, small cities, both transportation agencies. So it was as fair a process as it could be for a new process.
I totally agree with you, Tom. What you're saying is what we are saying.
But what happened was, in the process, is that some folks on the committee actually started to sort of pitch for their project, and we recognized that that was a problem. We wanted to just look at the application and let it stand independently. And what we're doing in this case is we're kind of adding to that and adding a pitch, and that's kind of getting out of the process. And you know, it would be my hope as a working group member that we would respect the process, but respect your project. You're not losing ground by not getting this program for 2021. But if we can update our application process to better reflect what we need to see to make informed decisions, you bring that project back next year, and it's very likely it's going to be.
I don't know, but to me,
But I would grant you that what you're saying is absolutely true. The process was somewhat flawed this year, so we need to revisit. But and you can always wait a year. Government loves waiting the next year, next year. But I am not a government person. I am a business person. I like to do something now. And the fact that if we can grant the money now and it's a viable project for what you know, unfortunately, the work group you said didn't have the information all at that time. The information you have now, if you believe it's a good project, a viable project, we have the money, why wait the other year in order to start the process going? Because if we know the process is going to go that way, we plan that. If we wait another year, the process changes. So to me, to say, well, we kind of had the process not quite right, so why don't you guys just wait till next year and you may be approved next year? If the thought process is we should have presented this, TPC is the one that makes the decision. The recommendations come up. And I agree with Byron. We don't use this forum necessarily to pitch every time the committee says no, but when the beginning of a process is not fluid yet, you can do it.
I would like to clarify something though real quick on the Patty Lane project costs and the amount of available funds, Tom. Because they're requesting right-of-way funds and utility funds, when you look at just the dollar amount that's on this gray sheet, it's $906,000, and that would not fit in prior to, well, that could only fit in 2021. But the right-of-way and utilities, because they actually are requesting funds for those much lower amounts, $88,000 for each of those phases. Those could, because there is $220,000 available in 2020, that actually could go into one of the earlier years. Those two phases, not the construction.
What earlier years?
It actually could go in 2018, 19, 20, or 21. There's
no delay. I mean, if the city is, it sounds like the city is designing on their own dime. And so 2018 funds won't be available till a year. So I don't see that this causes that much of a slip.
well, I think we go back to the process. The application wasn't complete. There's parts of the application that we were not required to submit. That is what you're commenting on, why maybe you felt it was an incomplete application or did not have enough information. So to me, it's starting to say, is there apples to apples? And if that's the case, maybe being as that it's a newer process, there has to be some flexibility to get to it. For me to have to say I got to come back potentially next year and recompete all over, I don't know if that's equitable either. So if it is a project that meets the goals and objectives, and I went and looked at all the goals and objectives and written analysis, it does meet all the ones that address connectivity, sidewalks, bike facilities, and I could read it if you'd like, but it does meet the intent of Connect Kentuckiana as well as the vision. So I think it's a true eligible project. And if there's funding available, to me it makes sense. Why isn't it being funded at this point in time?
Well, here, why wouldn't we, there's two other projects, they should probably deserve the same sort of,
And the way the process is
discussion.
set up, the working group had an opportunity to make a recommendation based on the information that they discussed and reviewed. And then the TTCC then was also able to make their recommendation to the TPC, but then likewise, the TPC can choose whatever they would like to.
Okay. Gotta come in here.
Sort of like Tom, but I'm also trying to support the mayor's request to amend. But I guess the question I would have, during the TTC discussions, were there any one of the other projects that might have been considered submitted that they were lacking something to, as was theirs? And did they get denied to make the cut because of their lack of information or something? I'm just wondering if anybody else sitting in this room had something basically in the same situation as what they're saying. Now, that being said, but as the mayor said, he's a doer. He comes from business. He doesn't probably want to see this sidewalk done in 220 or 221. He wants it done about 19 or 18. You know, so if he does do that, and this stays as is, and he needs 900,000, you got 220 left at the end of 2020. Is that going to throw this into a $700,000 deficit?
Well, we can't do that. So the construction phase would have to be in 2021. It could not be in 2021.
So you couldn't even get it that
sooner.
soon anyway, as
The
you might
construction-
want it otherwise,
Well,
right?
The
Correct
right-of-way
me.
utility phases, he could get sooner.
Let me ask you a correction, if this is plausible. If for some reason some other project wasn't ready, the funds were there, it could be, if we were ready to do construction. So the delay may not be the delay. If we're ready to dig, and all of a sudden some other project says, we want to move to next year, the funds would be available, we can dig.
But otherwise, if you stayed on this schedule and we give you your 900 a day, looks like me at the end of 2020, and everybody is programmed in here, we're gonna have a $700,000 deficit at the end of 2020.
I wouldn't do it unless, I can't, they won't.
Is that right?
Well, we couldn't put the construction in
Well, in-
2020. So what the construction funding is in the amount of $730,840. So $730,000 would for construction would have to go in 2021 if this project was chosen. The right-of-way and utility phases each are requesting $88,000, and that could go in an earlier year. Those could go, both of those could go in.
Now, Mary Lou, I
earlier
think to
years.
address yours, if you can describe that if the construction funds are in 2021, we can bring them current years, move them that way if something comes available, say, next year, right, in 2018.
If something were
2019.
available.
So explain that process,
all
right?
projects could
So it could be in
reviewed.
2021, and then next year, whenever new projects come in, if one of the projects that's funded for 2018 or 2019 isn't ready to be authorized, and they have to move theirs, this one could possibly be pulled back, is the way I was understanding it. That's what,
Yes.
is that true? Yeah. All right.
Does that make sense, John?
It does, but if, say, they all go as scheduled,
We'd
we're
wait
still
till
gonna have a
2020.
deficit,
No,
correct?
we'd wait till 2020.
You'd have to wait
No,
till,
but you're gonna wait, you're
We'd have to wait.
gonna agree to
For
wait
the
till
construction.
2021.
yeah,
We can't have a deficit.
We'd wait.
yeah, you can't have deficit.
I think what they may be requesting to get the right-of-way and utility funds funded in an earlier year and then the construction funds in 2021. And I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but that's,
With our new way of doing this process, I tend to agree with Tom, what he has said. However, if, I understand where he's coming from, because he was there and listened to it, and as were you, I assume, sir.
I went on the working group, but I was
I'm
on
working
TV.
myself. But,
Well, action is requested on this document, but if we, I guess the question here, do we
Well,
want to
action is-
amend,
yeah.
amend the, are we talking?
action is
if-
requested to approve
The-
revised priorities.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
but,
And there's a motion.
There's a motion to amend, I need a second, unless it dies.
the motion to amend is for the total 906 or just for the 88 for the?
You do the total, you do the total, it'd just be put out to the future.
I'll second his motion if you need it, and then we can put it on the table discussion. I'll second it.
More discussion?
I got a question. Are these, this list that was in the packet, is that a prioritized list with the top project being what the working group planned
No.
No,
necessarily?
no priorities.
No priority.
So I guess my concern would just be that there are two other projects on the list that didn't get selected. So would the committee's recommendation have been different? I mean, should those projects also be given a chance to compete against each other? I assume those other two projects.
I can answer
also
one of those,
compete.
one of ours, and I'd say no, I'll pull it.
Well, all of the projects were discussed at each one of the meetings, the working group meeting, the TTCC meeting, and then this meeting as well.
But the working group discussed them in detail and presumably has opinions about them based
And
on
at
the
this-
applications.
Yeah, at this particular meeting, this is the only project sponsor coming forth to request.
I mean, I guess to address your comments, to address that, what you're trying to ask for is would it make sense that all these go back and the new application be updated and everybody go back and resubmit and go through an equitable process? Maybe that's the other thing is what you're trying to get at,
Right.
what I'm hearing. But that's a whole different picture if we're gonna send all of them back and have a new rolled out application or something.
Well, I would rather see them all, see it move forward, because we got the Tiger Grant we're trying to move, and there's funding there. One of the major projects beyond that, in fact, the largest amount beyond that is one of our other projects, and we're not pushing that one. So to go back to revisit that wouldn't be needed.
Well, the other thing with the veteran park, we have applications out for potentially 2 other funding streams. So that's why we're willing to focus on the Patty Lane.
Matt, may I just add something real
Yes,
quick?
please.
There is no application that can capture everything about every project. It's just, it doesn't exist. No matter how thorough you try to be in developing an application, you're never gonna capture everything there is about every project that's seeking funding. That's why the process is built in 3 steps. The project working group is tasked with looking at each project based on the information that was submitted in the application. Now, there may be things outside the application that the project sponsors want to bring to the table, and that's why we have that second step that starts the TTCC. And then we also make that available with the 3rd step here at the policy committee. So it's not about everything that was in the application or not in the application. The process does allow for the opportunity for Mayor Durer or Judge Black to bring any issues before this group, but it's on the project sponsor to do that. We as a staff are not going to invite everyone to come here and say, we think we should get our project funded. We think that is the responsibility of the project sponsor. So there is no complete application to cover everything. That's why we have these 2 steps built in, because if the application misses things, this is an opportunity for those things to be brought to the table.
Okay. Any other comments?
I guess my one would be, Mayor Lou, would be, since we're only talking about $220,000 total at the end of 2020, and they're only talking about needing 88 of it to do something here and there between now and then, would there have been any other project out there that would need this little bit of money to get them going?
No, this is what's proposed. at this
Okay,
time.
so to me, why not let them move it if they think it'll help, Tom?
I would just tell you that the working group and the TTCC disagrees, so
Okay.
that's all I got.
I think the motion on the board and we have on the table, and we have a second, is to add the $906,840 to the project. Right? And I'm going to call for a vote.
I just have a quick question for Mary Lou. This is, assuming that this motion carries here, this is gonna allow the Dixie funding to move forward, is that
Yes.
correct?
All of
Yes,
it, yeah.
yes,
All right.
yes.
Just wanna make sure we're still on track with that.
No, that's why we don't want to send it back.
Appreciate that very much.
To the point here, if somebody else was wanting to put the other 2 projects, we or somebody's, they would have been here.
Yeah, I think we're not talking about taking any projects out of what's being proposed.
Okay, I'm more thinking about making sure there's no delay, that's all I'm worried about, I'm not worried about coming out.
Of course you are, you're guaranteeing them they're getting a $900,000 project for sure as of today, if we say yes, when Tom says it's somewhat unfair.
I guess that's something I'm not.
Everybody else that's on the list is being guaranteed to get their project as well.
I guess that's something I'm not clear about. Is the motion to take this project and put it into the TIP, or is it to fund this project in some way?
Well,
both.
I haven't heard a dollar amount request for funding for any phase or year.
But we're asking, they're asking for the whole amount, not to be put in the project or funding.
Put into the program, but then the project will have to be broken out where right-of-way and utilities could be funded in, say, 2018? Is that would be starting October 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess to answer your point, to answer Jeff's point, Jeff doesn't want, we're not gonna try to take money that Jeff's using for the or Metro's using for the Tiger Grant this year. We're willing to take this project out, till the year that Mayor Lou's talking about, so yes.
I understand that, but you don't want $900,000 in 2021 either.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
wants- What they want is they want.
700,000.
Well, 700.
700.
Utilities,
yeah.
utilities.
Okay,
and-
so you're wanting some of that money in 2018.
Right, they
Okay,
want
that's-
right-of-way for $88,000 in 2018.
The motion is to amend the TTC's recommendation of the highlighted projects, bring in the Patty Lane project with that utilities and right-of-way in 2018 and construction in 2021.
Now, I know this may muddy the waters, but that's okay. What if you just asked for the right-of-way at this point? That will keep you from moving, or from being dead in the woods. Of course, you've got to assume you get the rest of it, you wouldn't need the right-of-way. As an amendment.
It'd be better just to do a clean.
Clean.
project.
I think it goes against some of the policies is that
Due to element of time,
all phasing of a project and not just.
we've beat this thing down pretty good, so I'm gonna have a call vote. And the vote, the motion, if yes, is that we add the $906,840 into the current program, right? Correct on that, Mary Lou? Okay.
I don't, okay.
Do we need more discussion? You know, I know we're gonna, okay.
I'll ask yeah, I'm good. I asked the question. I just didn't.
Now that the working group members have all the information on the project, I mean, is there still any objection to the project or is, because I wasn't on the working group, and I'm just curious if the working group members that are here feel that it's been adequately explained and justified.
Well, I would say, remember, I'm only one person on a working group of about 10 people from both states. I would say that I need to hear that same information about the other project so that I can assess, should one or the other or both get funded, or all three for that matter. It's, but like I say, it's, the working group really spent a lot more time than we're spending right now. I think the TTC discussion was probably more involved than we're having right now. And I think they made their recommendations and, I don't see any reason to change that. I mean, and I'm only one person on those groups and I'm not trying to be the spokesperson for them. I'm just saying I was on those groups and those were the decisions that were made.
Well, back to David's point of the 3 layers, which actually there are 4 layers because the project sponsors are the first layer. You're going to have to, in the future, try to get it right before it comes in with the application. So that's the first layer. But the process, the working group made their decision. The working group is not going to revisit their decision. That's off the table. Working group's decision, amendment to the decision, and the TPC can approve it. That's where we are. We can't feed the process again.
So TPC today could say no to every one of them.
Yes,
correct,
sir.
If we choose to.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion. I'm gonna show of hands. All in favor of adding Jeffersontown Project 906-840 to the program, show of sign of hand.
Don't you have to have a second?
No, we do have.
We do have a second. Bernie seconds.
Okay, opposed, like sign?
Again, a clarification.
Uh-oh.
In what years are these funds being programmed?
That's the question I
That's
was.
what we're
Understand.
All right, I think maybe the motion needs to be clarified, maybe to just say that it is to add right-of-way in 2018 for $88,000, utilities in 2018 for $88,000, and construction in 2021 for $730,840.
Did you understand that?
I'll amend the motion to include the timestamp.
Include what?
Timestamp.
Oh, okay, right, okay. And a second, agree with that.
Yeah, I'll say.
Okay. All right, let's do it again. All in favor of adding this project as just described to 18, 19, and 21, show a sign of hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed, like sign?
I'd like to give my reason though, sir. Seriously.
Let me get this. Opposed, like sign.
All right. Okay, no.
Okay, all right. Motion denied. Now, we still have to have a motion on the packet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All in favor of the packet that we've seen, the recommendations from the committee and from the others, please, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a second?
Second. What are we approving now?
This,
The packet is
the packet,
What we're going to approve?
right, it's a packet, right.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Just the Kentucky.
Thank you, Jim.
And who made the second? We had a second, right?
I did second.
Oh, okay. Any discussion? We know what we're voting on, right? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mary Lou. Item number 6, Indiana dedicated STP funding priorities. Mary Lou, go sit down.
Let me get this mess out of the way and move to the next. Okay, Indiana. Basically, the same thing went on. We have Indiana STP funds that come to KIPTA through NDOT for $2.4 million a year. We also have all of these projects in the TIP. The funding's a little bit different, and the NDOT has a few rules that go along with that. Mainly that if the funds are programmed, we must obligate those funds or we will lose them and cannot carry a balance over from year to year. So we need to balance each year of the program and obligate those funds. So with adding the new TIP years of 2019, 2020, and 2021, we again have funding available. The notice of funding availability went out like we did for Kentucky. We received requests for additional funding for the existing projects as well as requests for new projects. Excuse me. Looking at the same list that you looked at a few minutes ago, the gray list, the Indiana projects are at the bottom. Now, the working group, there was one page for the working group and a second page for the TTCC recommendation. The change being that it was recommended that the last gray project in the Indiana group down here is the New Albany East Main Street project, and the request is for PE funding in, originally the request was for 2021. Then New Albany wanted to move that up to 2019. Funding was available for that, and the TTCC recommended moving that project, that PE funding, to 2019. So that is the change that is in the TTCC recommendation. Everything else on there remains the same. Going over the projects, we have a Jeffersonville 10th Street project that was requesting additional, they're requesting construction funding in 2017. This is a project that Jeffersonville is using mostly their local funding on, and we have been able to give them a few thousand dollars, I guess, for the project, but mainly it's about a $14 million construction fund, or construction phase, and most of that is being used with their own local funding. The McDonald Lane New Albany project is requesting construction in 2018. The Mount Tabor Road it's a New Albany project requesting right away in 2018. The New Albany Grantline Road is requesting additional construction funds in 2018. And then those were all existing projects basically that are in the TIP already, and these are additional funds going to those. Below the heavy line there, in the next group of gray projects, we have the Clarksville Blackston Mill Road Phase 2 project. This is a new project requesting to be added with construction in 2020. Clarksville Riverside Drive reconstruction, they're requesting PE in 2020 and right-of-way in 2021. The Floyd County has Bridge 51 on Blackston Mill Road, requesting PE in 2020. New Albany Charlestown Road widening, requesting PE in 2020, and the New Albany East Main Street project, which we just talked about, requesting the PE in 2019. So these are the projects that are looking for the funding. You have the TTCC recommendation in front of you. The other page was the working group recommendation, and just like the other one, just like the Kentucky funding program, this also has to be fiscally constrained, and it is balanced with these changes that are added. Looking at the, sorry, In the revised packet is a financial plan, just like we had for Kentucky. The top section, the top table is actually with the working group. And then the second table at the bottom of the page is the TTCC recommendation where we moved the Main Street project. The only change in those dollars is moving the Main Street project from 2021 to 2019. So what you can see there is at the end of 2017, we have a zero balance. The end of 2018, we have a zero balance. The end of 2019, we have $48,127. The end of 2020, we have $143,283. And the end of 2021, we have $718,359. So this is what's being presented, and action is requested to approve revised priorities.
Okay, we are wanting to have a motion on the 2019, the revision for the
That is just being presented.
We're changing the working group's decisions again.
Well, TTCC changed it themselves. So there is a working group recommendation, there's a TTCC recommendation, and then TPC can put forth their own.
Okay, working group? I'm sorry to signal you out, but nobody else agrees.
That was in, now, it was a great experience because Indiana and Kentucky worked together on these decisions, which is a first time thing. We've never done that before. My recollection of this is that it doesn't really, we don't put the funding out of balance. I mean, and we're not, we're just accelerating a phase. And I think Indiana, if somebody from Indiana would like to expound upon that a little better. I didn't see that this was we weren't adding a new project, we were just really shuffling a little bit of the money around.
Basically, I might explain just a little bit. When the Indiana projects were submitted, it wasn't exactly, we weren't exactly, and when the working group looked at the projects, we weren't exactly sure where those phases could fall until we balanced the program and chose the projects. And so when we left the working group, the consensus was to let staff put those project phases in the years where they would balance logically and balance.
To give you zero
and
balance.
when I attempted to contact John Rosenberger from New Albany, he was unavailable, and to err on the safe side, I put it in the out year, which was it couldn't go in 2020 because there was not enough funding. It had to either go in 2019 or 2021. To err on the safe side, I put it in 2021 because if they're not ready to use it when it's programmed, then they risk losing the funds. When I finally got to talk to John, he said it would be ready in 19 and would like to move it to 2019. So that was the request to change it to 20. It had already gone out to the committee at that point, and so the request was to change it to 2019.
Oh, to 2019. Okay, is that clear? I need a motion. Have a motion?
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mary Lou.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 7, MPO Year in Review. Mr. Larry Cheney, our
Yes,
hero.
sir. We have attempted to do this for several years now, and we always run out of time. So today you're going to have to suffer through it because we have enough time. One of the things that we as a group don't ever really get to do is to celebrate our achievements. We don't get to step back and say these are the great things that we've done this year. I can't capture them all because there have been a lot, but we want to talk a little bit about some. This actually goes back to December in 15. The realization of the impact really was January of 2016, but we had a foggy morning when they expected us to be out there very, very early. And Matt Bullock and I and 50,000 of our closest friends were on that bridge that morning. You couldn't see the bridge, so we just held up the postcard. The ribbon cutting was attended by governors and soon-to-be governors, several people from Washington. That's Mr. Mendez from the Federal Highway Administration as part of the ribbon cutting. You can see some of the people that were there. Some of the two governors' happier moments as they cut the ribbon. That's not the real Abraham Lincoln there. One of the other things that we've done, a lot of innovation went into the Ohio River Bridges project. And they've won a lot of awards because of it, not just financing, but the construction techniques, the period of time that we did it, the cost savings, a lot of things that this community hasn't seen. And we're held up across the country as a model in particularly the innovative financing on this, because as we all know, there's not enough money to go around to bid all of our projects, particularly the major ones. So a lot of states are looking at Kentucky and Indiana, the way that they put the funding package together to build this. Some of the other innovative things we've done, we've installed some roundabouts. We've installed some controversial roundabouts. Here are a couple over in Indiana. These were part of the Ohio River Bridges project. Down in the corner, you can see a little diagram with the yellow mark on it. That's on the Ohio River Bridges website to teach you how to drive through a roundabout and which direction and who to yield to, and it's pretty informative. Unfortunately, none of the drivers go to the website. Cooper Chapel Road at Chambers Way. This is a smaller scale roundabout, but it's something that was dedicated this year in the south central part of the county. Another one in the southern part of Jefferson County in the Fairdale roundabout, bringing together two roads that you can see eliminate an offset in a situation where it's not really a problem except for rush hour, but it's a serious problem in rush hour because of that offset intersection. So that's something that is new to our community. Transit has done a lot of innovative things this year, including the zero buses, zero emission buses. There are 15 of those. Is that correct? 15 or on the road right now. 9 of the blue ones and 6 of the multicolored buses. The red and blue buses are on the 4th Street route, which is an all-electric route now. The zero buses are downtown. They are replacing the trolley system, but they've expanded the reach of what used to be the trolley system. And we have 2 charging stations. That's parked at one of the charging station on Market. And we have another one on 3rd Street. One of the other things that we've done, and this bus stop improvement program is funded from so many different directions. It's a great partnership between Metro Louisville and KIPTA and TARC and the Transportation Cabinet and NDOT have all participated in some way in improving either the sidewalk infrastructure or the stops themselves. This was a finalist and a runner-up to the Bridges project as we gave our KITE award back in November. Bus Rapid Transit. These are not cars with car covers on them. These are pretend cars. Bus Rapid Transit is something that is going to begin to occur with the Dixie Highway makeover project, or Dixie Highway do-over as it's been called. Bus Rapid Transit is the next step beyond short headway transit. It's where you've got a lot of demand on the route. You've got more than you can actually accomplish with the transit system that you have there. So you put stations, you eliminate a lot of the intermediate stations, and you move the buses through the community a little bit faster. This is something that you'll probably be seeing by the end of the calendar year. Metropolitan Transportation Planning. We just witnessed an example of that with our priority process. This is a billboard that we had back in late 2012. A lot of you have been on that journey with us since 2012. We've been sifting through a lot of data. We've been trying to look at ways to analyze that data. Some of the things that we're going to offer to you in the not too distant future is access to all that data and access to the way that we're analyzing it. Crash analysis has been one of the things that we've done. All of this is because of our idea of data-driven and performance-based transportation planning, which is the best way that we can spend the money that comes to our community, is to look at where the needs are and address those rather than a whimsical type project that is maybe a good project, but it's not a priority project. So we're trying to establish those. What we're doing there is a focus and goal areas are areas where we're looking at congestion and connectivity and safety and a lot of different things layered on top of one another so we can see where the money should be spent. This is going to be our online resource center. You can see there are a lot of tabs at the top. There are going to be more. This will provide information like where the focus areas are, where the environmental justice Title VI areas are, where we have other environmental resources that might be in jeopardy if a project is built in that area, accident data, congestion data, all of the things that we talked about in this last application that we ask you not to fill out, you'll be able to fill out in the future by going to that. We came up with the funding application process. We've got cost increase limitations to try, back to Mr. Chapman's earlier comment about trying to move projects forward. The cost increase limitations are saying you bring your project to the table, you get a little bit more money along the way if you need it, but that's all. The rest of it's going to be, if there are any other increases, it's going to be on the local agency. We've looked at ways to change the schedule. So you only get so many opportunities to change your project schedule to keep them on time. We've got working group evaluations. Again, we've got the online resources. We've changed a lot with our community engagement. One being it's a mini website that we have that we can send things like the new tip or tip amendments, plan amendments. We can put them out there for the public graphically, and you can make your remarks on this map. Just type in your remark, and it comes back, and all those things will be fed back into the process. So we're trying to engage the community at every opportunity, get as much input as we possibly can in the process. There we are. This is not live because you're not Mayor Durham. The beginning of the year saw the recording of both our TPC and TTCC meetings and posting of those on our websites, allowing anyone in the community who has access to a computer, either at home, on their phone, through the library, can virtually attend one of our meetings. We've, several years ago, we developed a new participation plan. This past year, we've actually gone back with the things that we've added to the process and updated that plan. We also currently have an online and interactive MTP and TIP. So you can go to our website, go to the transportation tab, go to the metropolitan planning tab, and you can see these maps where you can actually go in there and see all of the projects, click on the projects and see the information related to them. Our Ticket to Ride van pool and rideshare program, I think all of you know that that's part of our transportation division. It's something that the MPO elected to do many years ago as a way to get some of the cars off the road. What we've done there, these are our new model vans. The Ford has changed their model, so now we have these on the road as we change over our fleet. Right now we have 79 vans on the road. We've gone up to a peak of about 83 3 years ago. When gas prices go down, typically we lose ridership. Several of our van pools were lost when the base realignment in Fort Knox changed their employment base. So we've remained steady in spite of the fact that gas was $2 and that the base realignment was cut back. We've got, on an annual basis, over 8 million vehicle miles traveled that are saved because of the people that ride our van pools. You see that the $10 million in commuting costs that our ridership sees in the course of a year. 180 tons of carbon monoxide, 35 tons of VOC, and about 80 tons of the different oxides of nitrogen are saved from our atmosphere because of our van pool program. Bikes and peds, we've made a concerted effort to draw that into our planning process. We have recently conducted a bicycle and pedestrian facility inventory in the entire metropolitan planning area. So we have 5 counties worth of data that we're going to share with all of you in the not too distant future. One of the things that we went into this process, the idea that we went into with this process was connectivity. And this is going to allow us to look at our bike and ped facilities and achieve that. It also will lend itself toward the achievement of our goals and objectives as we look at our performance measures. So we have bike facilities, we also have pedestrian facilities. We're also building projects all over the community. We have 2 projects currently slated for construction, one in Clarksville and one in New Albany, that will give us about 6 miles of the Ohio River Greenway. So you'll be able to move from downtown Jeffersonville at the amphitheater to the amphitheater in New Albany. So it's about 6 miles. There is a small section around the restaurant row in Jeff and Clarksville that will be added later. But today, you can basically make this entire route. As I said, it's about 6 miles. That's the downtown Jeffersonville riverfront and the Big 4 Bridge, which is an old photo, obviously, because it doesn't have an approach. The Louisville Loop, sections of the Louisville Loop were completed this year as well. 2.5 miles of the Ohio River Levee Trail in the southwestern part of the county. And with the opening of Turkey Run and Broad Run parks in 21st Century Parks, we have 19 miles of continuous trail over there. So we're a little bit less than halfway around this Louisville Loop with what's on the ground today, with a lot more to come. Many of these projects are funded in the current TIP. The Ohio River Bridges projects, we start the year with the bridge, we end the year with the bridge. This is obviously during construction. But we have a project that has an Ohio River Bridge. It's got the major bridge over Harrods Creek, a 1,700-foot tunnel, and toll facilities. This group and some of the board members and some of the RTC members attended a crossing tour back in October, I think it was, and that's the group from here. The dedication, again, it brought out everyone from Washington and all the surrounding communities to dedicate the bridge. That's Governor Holcomb up in the top there. Tolling. Right now, they've had requests for 200,000 transponders for the bridges, and that's pretty good. Again, this open road tolling. It's innovative. There are other places in the country that have it. Very few have it where you don't stop ever. We do have that on both bridges now. So if you don't have your transponder, pick one up. They're free. Sort of. What are we going to do in 2017? We can have driverless cars. A lot of the companies are saying we have them today. Put them on the street. Well, do we fill the air with drones? We have a really good shot of the Ohio River Bridges project from drones, and it's the technology is something that we really need. Well, maybe we need to step back a little bit and plan, and maybe even plan some of the drone pilots. Maybe. But it was a really good year. It continues to be moving forward through the process. It's going to be something that's challenging for all of us, but I think we can do it. We've done it so far, and everything that's thrown at us, we just bat it back. So thank you for all your help, all your support, and everything that you do for and with us.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's understanding why we're so tired after doing all this today. Okay.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
That's right. We're getting started. Okay, item number 8, fiscal year 2015 through fiscal year 2082. Mary Lou, you're back again.
Me again. All right, this time I just want to let you know about some administrative modifications to the Transportation Improvement Program. These are considered minor changes and there's no action needed by this committee. On the table in front of you, there is a list of projects here. The Indiana projects, I think, which is the whole first page, is Indiana. Those were actually mailed out to you. You may have gotten a copy of those or emailed to you a week ago. And then the Kentucky projects have been added for this meeting. Most of the projects, 12 of the Kentucky projects, are actually section 5310 transit projects. So that's most of the list. But if you have, as I said, there's no action needed by the committee. If you have any questions, I will answer them, and you can always contact me and ask me about them if you think about it later.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none. Number 9 is TTCC officers for 2017. Action is requested. Who's handling that one?
Yes, sir, I will do that. The committee elected Jeff O'Brien, or re-elected Jeff O'Brien as the chairman, and Brittany Montgomery as vice chair, and we ask that this committee ratify that election.
Okay, do we have a motion as such?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Looks like it happened. Very good. Item number 10, election of officers. You again?
Yes, sir. I guess what we're going to have to do here, since we did not meet in December and we did not have a nominating committee put together, we will accept nominations from the committee today, and then we'll go from there.
For both chair and vice chair.
If we could take care of the chair first, that would be great.
Okay, I need a motion to, for chair for 2017, I suppose. That is correct, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Nomination for chair.
Chair.
For this committee?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The current chair is Barry Barker. The vice chair, obviously, is Mayor Chapman.
Make a motion for Byron.
I'll nominate this fellow right here. He looks like a good, honest guy.
Oh, I'm an alternate.
All right, okay, you're an alternate.
I'll nominate Byron to move up from vice chair to chair.
Any other nominations?
Hearing none?
We have an election.
All in favor of Byron as the chairman, please raise your hand. Thank you, I appreciate your confidence. Oh, no, opposed likewise. I'm hearing some opposition here. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Now we need the nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate this gentleman right here.
I'm an alternate.
Oh, you're an alternate too? Okay. You don't, nobody wants a job.
Nomination vice chair?
I'll nominate.
Also an alternate.
I'll nominate John Callahan from Little Metro, who typically sits in my chair.
Okay. We have John is Callahan. Any other nominations?
That's not really fair. He's in Germany.
He's still getting email this.
Any other? Okay, then all in favor of John Callahan for vice chair, please raise your hand. Opposed, like sign. Looks like, who wants to tell John he got the lucky job? Because I'm gonna be gone all next year, so. Okay, any other business? Any other business come before the board? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
There's
okay.
there's one piece of other business. Many months ago now, we decided to start this meeting at 12:30. I think you can kind of see why. We're at the end of that, what we call a trial period. We need to decide what we're going to do going forward. Do we need to keep it at 12:30? Do you want to go back to 1 o'clock? We have so many things that we need to bring before you this next year. I would suggest that we keep it at 12:30.
I would recommend that as well.
Will it be in the form of a motion or just?
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It's just
Let's just,
everybody nodding their head
go
is
for
fine.
12:30, and if we see we've got a lot of slack time later in the year, we can always change it. But plan on 12:30, and then, all of our schedules can be as such.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good day.
Byron, can you make 12:30?
I'll try to. Item 12, motion to adjourn again. I have a motion, second? Second. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you so much for your attendance.